Okay, guys, we are officially recording. So, as you know, here on Got Your Back, anything you say from here on out can and likely will be used against you in some way, shape, or
Oh,
form. So.
Hey, Rishaug, can you wait? I just got to go get my awards and put them in the background. Just give me 2 seconds, okay?
Wow.
Yeah. Nice little flex there, Ryan.
That is a hard chirp for a newbie on the pod, Pierre. Immediate vote.
I like the framing. It's like perfectly there, like perfectly placed to make sure everyone kind of sees it. Yeah.
That was Dreger-esque, and you have to understand, Dregs likes to chirp Ryan all the time. So
it's like Uncle Darren wasn't here for the day. I thought I was going to be, people were going to be nice to me, but I guess
it's like the first thing I saw is the Rishaug flex in the background. That's the first thing that jumped out.
Welcome to Got Your Back, Arpon Basu. Hello, folks, and welcome to Got Your Back, LeBrun and Rishaug. Man, do we have a doozy of a podcast lined up for you today. So not only do we have Montreal Canadiens superstar young forward Cole Caufield, what a night last night, but we also have two of the Athletics' finest. Of course, my co-host here on Got Your Back is Pierre LeBrun, but also covering the Montreal Canadiens for the Athletic, Arpon Basu. I'm doing the intro, Pierre. People can't see you yet. Stay quiet.
Okay.
Got Your Back NHL edition brought to you by Cross Country Canada Supplies and Rentals. They supply rentals and equipment to the Canadian construction industry, but what sets them apart is their get-her-done attitude. It's a core value of their company. I've been to their head office a bunch. It's actually on the wall at their head office. These people really do live by this core tenet. They'll bend over backwards to get their clients what they need. No excuses. Cross Country Canada takes great pride in that attitude. And the nice thing about having sponsorship is you get the odd piece of swag. So I got the old Cross Country Canada hoodie going today.
Nice.
There, I will have to send one your way. Arpon, you will not be getting one because you have not been nice to me so far today. Hey, really happy to have you.
By the way, good thing that last week I had my Montreal Expos hoodie on. Thank goodness we didn't wear it the same day here, Arpon and I.
You know what? I wore this on purpose because of how often you wear the loudest Montreal Expos hoodies you can find. I mean, literally a beaming billboard of Montreal Expos pride, which I love. Yeah. But yeah, I decided I dressed up specially for the pod in my Expos gear. Just for this.
Like the Hartford Whalers logo behind me, I'm all about teams that don't exist, which maybe tells you something about me. Other than the one team that crushes my heart every year in the playoffs.
By the way, Arpon, we were doing a podcast earlier this week, so we all know what a huge Cowboys fan Pierre is. And Dregs
really?
I
had no idea.
Yeah, you had no idea. Dregs and Johnny and I were on with him. And so Pierre, they've got it's playoff time, right? Like this is the time of year you get excited. Pierre reveals to us that his viewing habits as a fan for this game, he will lock himself in his office. He will close the door. Nobody will be around him. He wants no parties. Yeah. He wants no friends. He wants no nothing. He will stare at his television and he will sweat. And that's his version of being a playoff fan.
Yeah, because he's psychotic.
I know. Yes, now there's Pierre. There has been a development.
Yeah.
So explain the development quickly here, Pierre.
I broke this story on Overdrive last night, but after telling all this to Ryan and the boys the day before, a pal of mine called me yesterday and said, "I've got 50-yard line tickets, Bucks, Cowboys. Are you in?"
Ooh!
I am going to Tampa Monday morning.
Wow!
You're going so begrudgingly.
Oh,
look at you.
My God!
Fans would be so happy, Pierre.
I'm going to be surrounded by Bucks season ticket holders. And I just said to myself, you know what? I don't seem to have a lot of luck watching a game by myself at my house every year because they lose.
Don't seem.
Yeah. So I'm going to be there in the flesh. And to be honest, in all seriousness, win or lose, to see Tom Brady, and who knows what Tom Brady's future is like, is kind of neat. So there you go. Yeah.
You're going to watch him throw the ball 55 times is what you're going to see.
I don't think they run the ball much in Tampa, so there is that. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's
poor
amazing.
You, Pierre. Poor you has to go sit on the 50th yard line and 50-yard line of your favorite team. And
you're nervous. You're nervous just thinking about. No, he's racked with nerves. He's racked with nerves.
I dreamt about it last night. I had a dream about what it'd be like. I'm going to be a mess by Monday.
Did you really have a dream about it last night? For real?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, Pierre, do you want to walk us through it? Was it weird?
You
Were you
need,
wearing
you
clothes?
need to,
Like what was
you need
happening?
to talk to someone, Pierre. There are professionals available who can help with your condition. You need to talk to someone. Please. You can talk to me if you want. We can have sessions. You need help, man.
As long as it involves a bottle of red wine, we should do that.
yeah.
We have
never
lots
done
of
that.
sessions. Playoffs, we'll have tons of time with them in the playoffs and lots of red wine. Okay, guys, lots happening in the National Hockey League last night. Plus, did we mention we got Cole Caufield we got to get to in a couple of minutes. So let's get to the breakdown brought to you by Pro Hockey Life. Listen, the drive towards the playoffs is on. So if you have a favorite team, a favorite player, Pro Hockey Life is a place to go to get the sweater, get it customized. They got all sorts of other team swag. They got hats, shirts, and all kinds of other stuff. So if you're a big fan and the playoff push is on, go to Pro Hockey Life to get yourself outfitted. Hopefully your viewing habits of your favorite team are a little healthier than those of Pierre LeBrun. And Pro Hockey Life is the place for the massive fan to get themselves into that fandom mode. Like you, like us, Pro Hockey Life is obsessed with the game. Okay, we'll get to the spectacle in Montreal last night because we're going to get to our Cole Caufield interview as well. But we got to go around the horn a little bit in some happenings. Gentlemen, the Seattle Kraken, I present to you, second-year NHL team. So let's run through what they did last night. They put an end to the Boston Bruins' 22-game point streak on home ice. 19-0-3 they were in that time. They shut out the Bruins for the first time this season. They ended the Bruins' 14-game point streak, and it's the Bruins' first home loss in regulation. They were 26-0-3. So in 29 games, they've now won 6 of 7 on their road trip. This is a second-year franchise, Arpon. Like, what impresses you most about the way these guys are going about their business?
Well, they just came through Montreal, and I got to say, you watch that team defend. Like, they don't defend. They defend with an offensive purpose. They do not wait for you to come to them. They come to you. They're an incredibly aggressive, incredibly fast, hard-nosed team that just does not allow you time to make decisions, does not allow you to set up. It's really sort of a helter-skelter, well-coached, disciplined team in the way that they attack you as soon as you have the puck. And so that's what really jumped out to me because, I've been listening to a coach here in Montreal talk about, you defend as soon as you lose the puck. As soon as you lose the puck, you have to get it back. You have to be on top of opponents. A lot of the things Martin St. Louis tells the Canadiens is exactly what the Seattle Kraken do so effectively. And really there's so little drop off from line to line. Matty Beniers, what he's doing is extraordinary, obviously, but it just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and looks more or less the same. So, I mean, it's sort of a weak link model, if you will. There is no real weak link up front. They have big defense that makes it really difficult on opponents. And I just find, I found them to be a really well-coached, disciplined team. And the way they do
Pierre, going into Boston and doing that against that team, whoa.
That's a statement win for your franchise. And it's funny, it reminded me of the conversation I had years ago with a GM who, I think it was around the McDavid lottery. And we were talking about the difference between whether you get a generational player or not and how you build your team in a cap world and so on. And he made a comment that I'll never forget because it's stuck with me and it reminds me of Seattle right now. And he said, if I can't get that type of player, which is a pretty good chance I can't, what really I'd love to do is have a blank canvas and build a team of second and third line players who none of them make first line money and just have depth trump over being top heavy. And I think about that a lot in terms of how different teams are built. And obviously you'd rather have McDavid. But when you look at Seattle, and Arpon just talked about it. Now, I think Beniers is going to end up being a guy you're going to have to pay and is going to be special. But but right now,
first line money.
But right now, in the moment, both cap wise and they're actually an experienced team outside of him. They're an experienced team without a superstar that doesn't have a glaring hole, but also doesn't wow you at any point either. And it's an interesting build compared to the way a lot of teams are built. When you look at the Oilers or the Leafs and so on, a lot of the top-heavy superstar teams. And it just goes to show you that there isn't just one pathway to success in a cap system. There are different ways, and this is the way it's worked for Seattle, probably out of necessity, of course, as an expansion team.
third in the league in goals for per game. They're scoring 3.6 goals for, and they're scoring an absolute pile on this road trip. They were through Edmonton. It was game one of the road trip, and we were talking to a few of the guys, chatting with Everly about the grind that was about to happen. And man, if I'd have told them that this would be their record so far in the trip, it really has been something else. Colorado Avalanche, guys, the defending Stanley Cup champions. We know that they've had injury troubles, right? We get that, and I think everybody allows for that. But I don't think that accounts for what's going on, because they had some core players in the lineup last night. By the way, the Chicago Blackhawks did not have Patrick Kane. They dropped one to the lowly Chicago Blackhawks. They've lost 7 of 8, and they've scored 2 goals or less in 4 of their last 6 and are sitting out of the playoffs. So, Pierre, this isn't just about injuries and such, to me.
Well, Blackhawks coach Luke Richardson might get fired for winning that game. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, everyone.
He didn't get the memo.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
He gets a bonus for every loss.
Yeah,
Dolphins style.
Not to make this all about the Athletic, but our Avs beat writer Peter Bow called it, the rock bottom moment so far of the year, and he covers the team in his column overnight. And it certainly feels like it, watching from afar, because they're actually starting to get some bodies back. They're still banged up, but they got McKinnon back. And, at some point, it's not just that it's a great team that shouldn't be where they are in the standings, of course, despite all the injuries. But I think the psychology of it, when you're defending your Stanley Cup championship, adds another layer of tension. I know it does, because I've seen it with other teams. The idea that, could you do something embarrassing like miss the playoffs after winning the cup? I don't think they will. I think they're going to find their way out of this. And I think the West invites itself in a pretty competitive but still winnable race to get back in there. But they're in a hole. And, I think the interesting thing to me is, do you try to trade to help your team get in, or do you actually wait for your team to get in before you decide to trade if you're Chris McFarland, the GM? And that's an age-old for a GM in a bubble.
Yeah,
I think this is something that's worth just kind of remembering. You mentioned defending Stanley Cup champs. I remember last season, I had a conversation with John Cooper sometime in March in Tampa, and he was just kind of like, what happened with these guys? We're talking about the Canadiens, obviously. And I was like, well, listen, honestly, like, they just did not recover from the playoffs. They didn't have time. So at the beginning of the season, they were dead. I was like, you guys didn't seem to have that problem. He's like, oh, we did. It just didn't come at the beginning of the season. It came in February for us, or January. It was sometime around now, actually.
Right. They had a big slump. Yeah.
They had a big slump, and he was like, it caught up to us. So I think every team handles that differently. With all the injuries that the Avalanche were dealing with, you add this layer to it. I think there's something to that, and that's why I'm convinced they will figure it out. They'll come. Like, you have to learn how to be a contender, and I think that's what they're going through right now.
And we knew that losing Nazem Kadri was going to be a huge hole. I mean, I quoted Chris McFarland for the year saying, let's not sugarcoat it. It's going to be a huge hole for us to overcome. And they haven't. They've not overcome Kadri's loss in that top 6. But I think the under-the-radar loss, and I'm guilty of this, I didn't realize he was this good a player, quite frankly, was Andre Burakovsky with the said Kraken we just talked about. And I think that he provided that certain layer of support for Colorado that went unnoticed because of all the offense they had there last year. So, those are two losses.
I think it also speaks to the value of Gabriel Landeskog. Like, honestly, like he flies under the radar in the stratosphere of stars on that team, but he strikes me as just a guy who kind of makes it all work. I mean,
hasn't played all year.
For sure. And looking at Burakovsky, I mean, he's on pace to match the 22 goals that he had last season with Colorado. He's already got 24 assists, though, so he's looking like he may eclipse his point total, but really valuable player. I mean, the Avalanche, with all that firepower, and again, it's been in and out of the lineup for sure. Right now, they're sitting 25th in goals per game. They're scoring 2.8. Last season, you guys, they were 4th, 4.1. So they're over a goal a game different. I mean, that's going to kill you. You drop an entire goal per game out. Yeah, for sure. There's reasons why.
I think he's missed 25 games. Like, there's some obvious reasons there. Yeah.
So go ahead, Arpon.
Well, just to go back to Pierre's original point, like, do they make a move to fix it, or do they fix it and then make a move? Losing Kadri and losing that layer of insulation that you have for your top guys, I'm of the mind that when you have a group like this, you make the move first. You fix it, and then because you can't take the chance of missing the playoffs with this group. You can't waste a year.
We're pointing out they don't have their second, third, or fourth. They traded all of them last year, and good thing they did. I mean, it got them Arturi Lehkonen, Josh Manson, among other assets that helped them win the cup. But they don't have a second, third, or fourth in this year's draft. Mm-hmm. They do have their first.
Arpon, take everything you just said, apply it to the Edmonton Oilers too, hey? Like when you have that group, you don't wait.
Well, the Edmonton Oilers are the poster child of wasting a group, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Final four last year, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. But
the expectation's higher, right?
And it shouldn't have been their first trip to the Final Four. I mean, let's be honest. And so, yeah, I think they have – they have one or two things they might want to address. Hey, Ryan?
Rough shot D. I don't even want to open up the Joel Edmondson conversation here with you because we've done this already, and it'll. Yeah, I got chased off of Twitter after that when we were talking about Edmondson. So if the Chicago Blackhawks did not get the memo about, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, the Columbus Blue Jackets certainly did. They've lost 12 of their last 14. They're in last place. Like when Johnny Gaudreau signed on the dotted line, I can imagine he probably did not envision this mess, but they're in prime position for Connor Bedard here. So Pierre, I suppose you just go hands off and let her buck.
Like Ron Burgundy told his dog after his dog and Anchorman ate an entire wheel of cheese in his fridge. I'm not even angry. I'm impressed. That's something like that. And Jarmo Kekalainen, I remember quoting him last year. He's actually an anti-tanking guy. He really worries about what it does to your team culture and the psyche. He's never been a guy that believes in tanking. But I think what's apparent here, I mean, they lose Zach Werenski for the year. All these things have piled up. They had holes to begin with on that blue line. It's like, let's not go out of the way to make it happen, but let's not go out of the way to not make it happen. It's sort of what's happening. It's sort of like, we're not going to make moves to improve this lineup. We're going to let this let this ship hit the shore on its own, and we'll deal with the wreck later. And that's what you should do at this point. And you're talking about a player at the top of this draft that is generational from all accounts, from what we've watched and what we know from people who study the draft, and also the guys behind him. I mean, that's what Arpon, I'm sure, looks at a lot for Montreal, is that who have two picks in the first round, is that the odds of getting Bedard are not that great no matter who you are. But then if you're within the top 5 or 6, you're getting a pretty special player anyway.
The other thing is that there's a difference between tanking and organically losing. They're two different things. Like if your organization decides, what the Blackhawks did, like we are going to be bad. We're going to trade away good young players, Kirby Dach, Alex DeBrincat. I mean, these are guys that they did not have to get rid of. They did it with the purpose of being what they are right now. Columbus didn't do that.
No,
Columbus went out and improved their team.
Big time.
They added big time. They put the jewel of the free agent class. So you're sending a message to your players. Look, we're trying to get better. Now, if you happen to be not good, we'll be okay with that. But that's not a tank. I think what Chicago did sends a bad message to your room. What Columbus did sends the opposite message. And if you get to have that cake and eat it too with like a number 1 overall pick, well, then you're laughing, right?
But the thing is that with Chicago, they showed up and everybody knew what was what. Everybody knew what was what. The problem with what's happened in Columbus is at some point, Jarmo Kekalainen sitting in his owner's office saying, hey, here's the guy I think we should invest in. Here's the money, the $9 million, this and that. And this is what I think we can do this year, right? So you paint this picture and now you turn around and it's like, okay, well, we're not quite there, but guess what? Connor Bedard.
Ryan, my understanding is, though, I don't think Jarmo Kekalainen sold anything more than what he thought his team really was to ownership, which was what? Maybe we're a bubble team.
Okay.
Like they knew going in that they still had holes on defense. They weren't 100% sure, I don't think, of their goaltending still. I don't – signing Johnny Gaudreau wasn't about the 22-23 season. It was certainly about adding another piece and let's see how this – they've got players coming in the pipeline. This wasn't a one-year fix for them.
But what do you think their messaging was at the start of the year, though? What was their messaging to the team and to the – it's like, hey, guys – the Chicago Blackhawks are sitting there. They're sitting there saying everyone's counting us out, but guys, let's be scrappy and let's hang in there. The Blue Jackets started the year wanting to get to the playoffs, and that's different when you sit where you are now when you started with those expectations.
But this also speaks to how, Ryan, you would know this obviously in Edmonton. Last year when you looked at the Flames in the playoffs, like you can do everything you want as a GM and plan for every eventuality. The one thing you cannot plan for is if your goalie that you thought was good is suddenly really bad.
Yep.
All the chips, like everything that you have planned is out the window. Like who would have imagined Jacob Markstrom putting together a playoffs like he did last year? Like, I mean, if you're Brad Treliving, you're like, look, I've done everything I can to make this team competitive. All of a sudden my Vezina caliber goalie sucks. Like, how do you plan for that? So I think Jarmo Kekalainen could have had a reasonable expectation that his goaltending would be at least average or competent, which it hasn't been. And so there's nothing you could really do about that. As a general manager, you can't plan for that.
I actually think, Ryan, post-trade deadline, when there's some, days in March where it's just about the playoff chase, we should do an entire podcast, get a couple of goalie experts on. And I mean, I've written a bit
what the
about
heck
this,
happened?
But just in general around the league,
Yeah.
The three of us have been around the same vintage here, 25 plus years, all three of us. I've never seen NHL front offices more uncertain about gauging value and gauging talent in that position.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's happening. And again, I think you have to talk to the people that day in and day out study goaltending. But I don't know when the next goalie is getting paid, other than a very short list of guys that are obvious.
I think people look at Jack Campbell this year, and GMs, I think, look at Jack Campbell this year, and like, I'm not doing that. Like that, I'm not going to get stuck into that contract and have that happen to me. So,
or certainly not Sergei Bobrovsky. I think those days are done.
Forget that. But even Jack Campbell is not outrageously paid. The $5 million goalie. I mean, it's not. But you look at the way he's performing, that's a problem. And I think GMs look around like that contract and the Kemper contract, neither of which are outrageous. I think a lot of GMs are going to think twice before
more than anything
handing term to a goalie.
Well, more than anything, too, it's about throwing all your eggs in one basket, right? Like these are all indications because Jack Campbell might well play some good hockey for the Oilers this year. His game's rounding into form here, but you need space for two of them. You need to give yourself two kicks at the can that maybe one of your two guys will have the year that lines up with your team's expectations. All right, great stuff, guys. That was the breakdown brought to you by Pro Hockey Life. Arpon, you were at the game last night. Pretty cool little scene there with PK Subban. It was the perfect game to do it. What did you make of PK's presence, what he did with his time? Carey Price shows up. It seemed like a good spectacle like the Habs normally make.
It was good. And what was abnormal about it is that the Canadiens usually – you have to kiss the ring before you get a night like that at the Bell Center. Like this is a very different. This is a big departure from how the Canadiens usually operate. Look how long it took for Patrick Roy to be welcomed back. Even Guy Lapointe, it took a while. There's all these little fractured relationships, and PK's relationship with the Canadiens was fractured. Let's not sugarcoat it. If not completely obliterated. So this was like a really nice olive branch. PK mentioned how he got the call from Jeff Molson shortly after he announced his retirement to make this happened. Him and Jeff Molson were not on the best terms when he left the team. It was not a very fuzzy relationship. So, but the whole night, the way it came together, and especially the Carey Price part, which kind of epitomized a lot of what went wrong with PK. That whole 0005 thing became its own thing. It became something that Michel Therrien hated because it put them apart from the team. That's what the narrative that kind of followed PK his whole time here. And so for them to do that at the end just kind of showed, maybe, hopefully things are changing, that you can embrace something like that, celebrate it instead of kind of look down your nose at it and say, that's not a hockey way of doing things. It was fun. And that night was fun, and I think hockey should be about fun more often than it is about being humble and serious and everything. It's the end of the world and all this stuff. So to me, that's what that night was about, is that, some nights it's just, let's just have fun. This is a guy that a lot of the fans loved, no matter what was going on behind the scenes or whatever. He was adored by this fan base. Let's give those fans a chance to celebrate him, and let's bring him back and sort of let bygones be bygones. And I thought it was great.
For me, when I think of PK Subban in Montreal, Arpon, I'll just think of his performance in those playoffs in 2014, I guess it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Eastern Conference Final, and basically a one-man show against the Boston Bruins just got in their heads, and scoring the breakaway goal. I mean, that was the apex, I think, of what was a special time for here, and with ups and downs for sure. I mean, that's all part of the story. But man, his performance in those playoffs was just unreal.
I can't wait to take that all away from them. That's that series. I can't wait to take that all away from them. The greatest quote I've ever been a witness to in my career.
Well, the next greatest quote is probably from Milan Lucic in the handshake line, but
Yes, exactly. Well, we never got the official version of that.
Best quote I've ever gotten, Arpon, and you guys got to prepare your brains for this one. And I'm not going to say who it's from because it's not the most complimentary. How about this mind bender? What's in the past is in the past. What happens in the future is water under the bridge.
That's the most hockey player thing I've ever heard. Yeah.
I'm not saying who, and I will not accept guesses.
That's fair.
That was an
Josh Anderson the other day said, "You hit the nail right on the coffin."
Jason Strudwick on my local podcast talked about Zach Hyman getting hit and being angry, and then he got up and he was out for he meant to say a pound of flesh, and instead he said a pint of blood. He went into vampire mode.
We're not rocket scientists anymore.
No, we are not. We're not rocket surgeons, as that same person who gave me that other quote often says. All right, listen, this is getting way off the rails. We got to get to who's got your back. Brought to you by Liberty Smart Security. It's a company that specializes in having your back. High quality, advanced smart security systems for your home or your business. Liberty Smart Security uses leading edge technology to protect the things that you value the most. Your home is your castle. Protect it with Liberty Smart Security. Visit libertysecurity.ca. Cole Caufield is our guest on the podcast, and we have to go full disclosure here. We did not interview him at 6 a.m. the morning after that game last night. We interviewed him the day before yesterday. So some of our statistics are a day and a half old. But he had a great performance in that game last night. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But Arpon, give me your perception on Cole Caufield's overall game and what he's returned with this year.
Hey, swagger. That's what I like that he scored in that game, because that's what Subban brought to the table. He had a certain swagger to him, and Cole Caufield, the confidence he's playing the game with, his ability to impact the game on a team that has trouble scoring goals. He doesn't. That was his 24th and 25th of the season last night. He continues bringing that confident swagger about him, and that's something that this team needs more of, and this league needs more of. And he's proven doubters wrong his whole life. He's never been a big guy. He's always been the guy you see. At the USNTDP was always like, oh, well, that's a product of Jack Hughes. I mean, there's a reason he slipped to 15. It's not only his size, but a lot of people wondered, how's he going to be away from Jack Hughes? And, he's proven it time and again. The guy just knows how to score goals, and he knows it. And the way he carries himself is what I find is his best quality. Like, you can think whatever you want. I know I could put a puck in a net.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I could do it better than I could do it better than
Pierre.
you.
Did you hear his post game last night, Pierre? Did you hear his post game last night? So if people haven't heard this yet, here's Cole Caufield. He was asked last night in the scrum. Arpon, you might have been in this scrum. He was asked last night if goal number 25 was important to him.
Is 25 important at all for you? Was it a target at some point?
26 is.
26.
What about 40? We'll get there when we're at 39.
What about 40? We'll get there when we're at 39, Pierre.
Yeah.
I mean, love the swagger, and he showed lots of it in our interview too.
Yeah, and I love this generation of player, Trevor Zegras, Jack Hughes, all these guys. I go back to the first game of the World Juniors this year, and Canada tries on Michigan twice in the first 10 minutes of the game.
Dylan Gunther had the great quote, we're not going to Michigan our way to a gold medal here.
No, but I mean, still, like my kids who were totally into the World Juniors, really for the first time, I've never seen them this engaged like they were, and maybe it's just the age they're at. But that got them out of their seats. And when you watch Cole Caufield every night, he's part of that generation of player that I think the DNA is not only am I going to score goals, I'm going to entertain the hell out of you. And that doesn't mean he's not a competitor and doesn't want to win a Stanley Cup, but I think it means you can maybe do both throughout your career. And as, by the way, Alex Ovechkin probably has shown, in terms of the kind of criticism he took as a young player in this league. And don't celebrate that way, blah, 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 all the stuff that Ovechkin had to go through. And I think it really paved the way for this generation of player to be the heck they are and not hide who they are. And Cole Caufield, to me, reminds me of that.
But one thing, I'm sure that with you guys, he was loose and funny. And, I don't know how that conversation went. I'm sure it was great. But it's funny. I've never a bigger disparity between a guy on a practice day and a guy on a game day. Cole Caufield is an all-timer for that. I mean, that answer that you just heard, yes, he's being deadpan, but he's dead serious. He's after a game. Even last night, I asked him at the end of his scrum, I was like, when's the last time you got as many looks as you got tonight? He thought back to it. He's like, probably Florida, last game of last season. And if anyone, most of your listeners probably don't know, but Florida basically dressed half their lineup. They were getting ready for the playoffs. They were playing the last place overall team.
Yeah.
Carey Price's last game, the Canadiens just stomped them. It was not even a contest. So I go, but that doesn't really count. That was a weird game, And he's like, it was game 82. I counted it. Dead serious. Not going there at all. No, I count it. It was game 82.
He was pretty easygoing in our interview here. And
yeah,
the one thing
you catch him on a practice day, and he's like,
And the one thing is, Ryan did stump him though, because Ryan asked him if he could remember the last penalty he took in an NHL game, and he got stumped on that.
Long time ago. We talked about that earlier. So a couple things. Again, we interviewed him a couple of days ago. So at that time, he was at 23 goals. Also, he talks about a bet he had with Christian Dvorak because neither of them had any penalty minutes. Well, Dvorak had 2, but they didn't count it because it was what was it, Pierre? He said they didn't. For some reason, they didn't count it. So he's got a bet with Christian Dvorak.
I think because they're offsetting.
Yeah, coincidentals.
Right.
Yeah,
so he talks about a bet he has with Christian Dvorak about who's going to take the next penalty. Well, then last night, Christian Dvorak took a penalty. So the bet you hear him talk about, he won the bet, and whatever it is, Cole Caufield is cashed in. We had tons of fun with him.
Now.
Yeah, we had tons of fun with him.
I'm going to check on that.
Thank you very much for doing this. You've got a podcast too. What's it called? Where can people find it?
It's called Le Sport Athletic or The Athletic Support. It's a bilingual podcast to do with my partner, Marc-Antoine Godin. You can find it on the Athletic app or on Apple or on Spotify or your favorite podcasting platform. Just look up Athletic Support or Support Athletic, and you will find it. It's a twice-a-week podcast on everything Montreal Canadiens.
I feel like if I Google Athletic Support, that's not what I'm going to find.
Well, we needed a bilingual name. So
I love it.
Throw a Basu in there and you'll find it.
Yeah. You chirp my awards. By the way, you keep performing like this, you'll have some awards to put up behind you out there too, my friend.
I got them. They're just in a closet. I just don't put them behind me and right in my frame,
Oh, that's so good. I just totally ate that. Oh, no, I have them, Rye. I just don't display them. Love it.
Right.
Arpon, thank you so much for this, my friend. We look forward to chatting again soon.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. That is Arpon Basu, and presented by Liberty Smart Security, our conversation with Montreal Canadiens forward Cole Caufield. So in 41 games this season, Cole Caufield has already equaled his career high in goals with 23. Cole, but the one that impresses me, I don't know if you know this or not. Do you know that it has been 53 games that you have played without taking a penalty? I don't know if you knew that or not, but it's been 53 games. What is your relationship with the referees in this league like? Are you just super nice?
Oh, you got to jinx them now.
Yeah, actually, I didn't know the exact number, but Christian Dvorak on our team, him and I don't have a penalty this year, so we kind of just are going off that. And we've been trying to decide a bet on who's going to get the first one, but we got to figure that out pretty soon because, I think one's coming soon.
Okay, hang on a second. So you would bet, so if he takes the penalty, he wins or loses the bet? He'd
lose the bet.
If he takes one, so you're trying not to.
Yeah, so we decided fighting doesn't count. It's a wash. You can do that. but it's just a minor. He actually got one, but they took both guys, so we kind of watched that one too. I've served a couple too many men on the ice calls this year, but
That does not count.
those don't
That
count.
does not count.
So we're still
No
at
chance.
0.
Do you know the last one you took? We dug deep here, but we dug deep.
53 games ago. Honestly, no.
April 5th, 2022. Interference against Matthew Joseph. You goon.
Oh, yeah. Watch that call. It's the worst call I've seen.
Of course it is.
It's nuts.
Of course it is, Cole.
Says
No,
every
it's
player
nuts.
ever.
Oh, it was nuts. I was trying to stay on sides. I remember that. Yeah.
Speaking of friendly bets, by the way, between teammates, we just got out of the World Junior Tournament and on TSN. So I got to ask you this, Cole.
You're not starting with this, Pierre.
No. I just
way to tank the interview right at the beginning.
I love the back and forth between U.S. and Canadian teammates. We had a story from Trevor Zegras at one of our podcasts this year, Ryan, where he had to fly home with some of the Canadian World Junior guys on the same plane because that was during COVID, and Trevor had his gold medal around his neck, and the Canadian guys had their silver from the Kings and the Ducks, but I'm sure there was a friendly little wager, whether it's with Nick Suzuki or someone else, in the Habs dressing room. So you can fill us in on that.
Yeah, I mean, I had one with Nick, one with Kirby, and then one with one of our trainers. He used to work for Team Canada a bunch, so went 0 for 3 on those. It's going to cost me, but I'm kind of glad I didn't have to wear a jersey or anything to practice like Bernie or Trevor wore to the game too. So I'll take that over wearing something any day.
Kyler Yamamoto, I cover the Oilers here in Edmonton, and Kyler Yamamoto, we were in there the day after and we're doing interviews with players. And Harry, the trainer's like, everybody, Kyler Yamamoto will be doing media today. And Yamamoto comes walking out of the back with a Team Canada sweater on and his head down. And he stood there and we all scrummed around him and started firing some darts at him. And I didn't know how far to take it, right? Because I'm like, this is a joke, but I'm supposed to be a serious reporter here. And I think I took it too far because right at the very end, I said, Cotter, you probably need to rush home. The bronze medal game is starting soon. And he just looked at me and just shook his head.
Wow.
And I thought I took that too far. My reporting integrity was out the window on that one. It's a fun rivalry, and sometimes you win them, sometimes you lose them, but it's a blast for both countries. Listen, I want to get back to the 23 goals. That's where I started. So 23 goals this season already. You've tied your career high. The plus minus is significantly better too. And I know it's only partway through the season. And I wonder, when you look at your statistics this year, and as much as the offensive production is there and there have been steps taken there, how much does that other side mean to you as well as you kind of continue to develop and round out your game?
Yeah, I mean, it's for sure something that Marty and I have talked about a lot. It's a big responsibility. I mean, you want your top guys against theirs, but with that comes, the other side of the puck too. I mean, you're playing against the best players every night. They're going to have the puck, for most of the shift sometimes, and it's going to go both ways like that. But just trying to put myself in a better position and kind of think a little bit more ahead. And, we've watched a lot of video together, but it's for sure something that I think I've taken a lot more seriously this year than, I have in years past and stuff because, it's a big part of the game. And, Marty always says every play matters, and we've kind of been figuring that out a lot this year.
Yeah, you mentioned head coach Marty St. Louis, and obviously a Hockey Hall of Famer who had to prove a lot of people wrong because of his size, Cole, as you know, and now he's your coach. And I'm wondering how special that is day to day. If you can give us a little insight on a guy that I'm sure you knew a lot about, and B, now that he's in your work life every day and how he's helped you.
Yeah, it's still crazy coming to the rink every day, and having that guy kind of be your teacher. There's a lot of things you can relate to, and like he's been through the same things and probably just harder things. So just having a guy like that around that you can always go to. He always says he doesn't have to do this; he loves to do this, and I think we've kind of respected him for that. We all know what he's achieved in his career. He doesn't really have a reason to be here, but him coming to work every day and kind of just acting like a pro still, and it kind of drives us all to grow. And I think he's obviously learning along. with the experience he has, we got 100% trust in him, and he's obviously helped me, a lot in his first year, and hopefully we can, continue to grow and have more success.
Cole, is there something that you have come to learn about him that maybe really surprised you, or you didn't know before you had the opportunity to be around him as much as you have here? Like, has anything surprised you?
Other than his quads being the size of a house, like,
Yeah, there's that.
there's that. Like you heard about it, but it's crazy. You think he'd probably win a squad competition with our whole team. So, no, I mean he's great. Like he can still play, in my opinion. I think he's getting involved in drills and practice sometimes, and it's really cool because he keeps the energy up. It's always a blast. I think practices have been a lot more fun this year too. So it's obviously someone that you want to learn a lot from, but it's also cool to see the passion that he has for this game, and I don't think it'll ever die for him.
Yeah. So I wonder when it comes to skill players that are still in their first few years and the balance between taking chances and making mistakes and playing carefree versus the responsibility at the other end. And I wonder how a player who played the way Marty did handles it when you go out on a limb and try something and maybe it doesn't work, maybe it bites at the other end. How does he handle you in those moments? And what's his messaging about taking chances and playing carefree versus buckling it down when it needs to be buckled down?
Yeah, I think we've actually talked about this a lot through these past couple of weeks, and I mean he's a coach that lets you play free, but in the right time of the game, it's better to play free when it's tied or you're down one, down two. But these situations when we've been up goals or stuff like that, it's kind of doing the job, not somebody else's or not the one you think that you're supposed to do, but just doing the job for the team. And I think the accountability part is something that we've kind of been working at as a team and as a group, and not only just Marty, but like holding each other accountable in those situations because we've been up and we've been down, and games change pretty quickly. So we're kind of learning how to win games. It's not really all about just trying to win the game. It's how we win and learning from our mistakes and kind of just the experiences that we go through. It's pretty crazy because we've learned a lot so far. We're a young team, and it's just the kind of the accountability part in those times of the games where you can win and lose so easily.
Cole, you got an unbelievable shot. It's on display every game you play, and I'm wondering how much work you've put into that over the years, specifically when you were quite young. I got 3 kids in youth hockey, and we've got a set up in the backyard, a shooting pad, etc. And it's really up to them if they feel like doing it on days where they're not at the rink. But I'm wondering what that was like when you were that age. If you weren't at the rink, how often were you out there because you wanted to working on your shot?
Yeah, I was pretty lucky and fortunate growing up. My dad still runs a hockey rink today, but so growing up, like I'd earn my ice time by sweeping floors and stuff and cleaning bathrooms, all that. So I was very lucky to kind of always have ice time. But when I was at home, my parents kind of changed the basement into this mini hockey rink, and so no matter if it was snowing outside or anything, you could always have that downstairs. So my dad, he used to build an ice rink in our backyard until he kind of got that job, and then from there we've just been fortunate to have ice time all the way growing up, me and my brother. But my dad kind of just didn't really teach me much. He just told me to do. There's like these wrist curler things that it's like a wooden dowel or whatever attached to a lace and the like 2.5 pound plate, and he'd make me do 10 before bed every night, and I thought it was awful too. And at the time, but
It paid off.
I guess, yeah, it's really just all he said. He just said, get it off your stick as fast as you can, and kind of just surprise him and do wrist curls. So I think the rest of it to kind of figure it out myself, kind of put myself in a better spot to score. But for him, he kind of taught me a lot of just like trying to get on and off your stick and as fast as you can. Obviously, having strong forearms kind of helps too in those situations.
I'm interested in this transaction of cleaning for ice time. So give me the specifics there. What was the deal and what were your duties? How often? What'd you have to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think every day in the summer, my mom would was teaching summer school, so we didn't obviously want to go there. And so we just go to work with my dad every day. And, it wouldn't be every day, but most of the days in the morning after practice from the night before, we'd sweep the locker rooms, my brother and I, and clean the bathrooms, kind of scrub the floors, all that stuff that we just wanted to do to get on the ice. And he was good about it. He never come out there with us. It was just he just kind of let us be free out there. And looking back on that, I kind of wonder why he wasn't out there kind of running us through drills. But I think that's how my brother and I kind of coached ourselves, and we kind of found a love for trying to find different ways to do things. And like, because he was our coach growing up, so it was kind of our time to get away without him out there,
Right.
and, from yelling at us. And so, but no, it's fun. I think he was good. I think we're really lucky, obviously, to have all that ice time, but we for sure had to earn it.
Sounds like you knew when to lean into you and when to give you your space, which is, hey man, that's a great hockey dad right there. I want to ask you about Brendan Gallagher. How would you describe your relationship with Brendan Gallagher? Like, are we talking uncle? Are we talking bratty brother? Are we talking annoying cousin? Like, what is he to you? What are you to him?
Annoying older brother for sure. I don't know. I think he was one of the first people I saw from the organization when I got drafted, and ever since then we've kind of built a relationship. And every day at the rink, we're always just seeing who can do something better, or faster. It makes no sense what we do, but I mean,
give me an example. Like what? Like little dumb competitions? Like what are you talking about?
Like no, like there was one time where like it wasn't even me involved. It was him and Paul Byron. It was how fast it could. He uses for his knob, it's like that tape stuff, or like the one you slide on, and then Gally tapes his, and they had to tape their whole blade and knob faster, and Gally lost that one. He won't admit it, but like literally he just wanted to tape a stick. He had to cut a stick, tape it as fast as he could, and just tried to prove to everybody that he was the fastest at it.
What's the point?
There's no point. It's just for him to. And then just fantasy football. He started at like 11-0, so there's not much you can. Like everybody hates it because he's actually pretty good at it. But if there's any competition, whether it's in the gym doing something stupid, like we're always. And now, like he's obviously not playing, so there's literally like crosswords, how fast we can do those before practice or something. So he's never out of it.
So I assume that Brendan won your dressing room fantasy football title, or was he upset in the playoffs by a teammate?
I think he's still in it. It's him versus, or I know Susie won. Oh, okay, so yeah, Susie beat Gally.
Oh yeah, because they would end with the regular season.
Yeah. Yeah, there was obviously some controversy with that game ending early, and I think a couple of them had guys in there that. So Gally's always got a reason to complain.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah, just ask him; he'll tell you.
So he's Braddy older brother. What we may have him on the pod sometime, and I'll ask him the same question. What do you think his answer will be about what he views you as?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, probably just the same, like annoying younger brother that's just always in his business. I was always trying to get him uncomfortable, get him out of his comfort zone and stuff like that. So it's all good fun, but both very competitive, and but we're always having a good time.
Great. Well, I mean, we took too much of your time. I was going to ask you about your chemistry with Nick Suzuki, but we'll do that another time, because I think that what we see is a chemistry that's going to keep you two together for a long time. It's got to be, NHL players go through a lot of different line mates usually in the first couple of years of their career. It must be crazy for you to be able to just know what's going on there every time you come to the rink.
No, yeah, it's great. I think off the ice, on the ice, we're getting along, hanging out, and I think that goes a long way just to see, the rest of the team, how close we are, and just kind of create that bond in the room of a tight group and stuff like that. So he's obviously a special player, but it's kind of nice going to the rink every day with a close friend like that, and just trying to work things out together and how to grow and kind of find more ways to win.
Yeah,
Listen,
I snuck it in anyway. See?
Yeah, you got that was sneaky, Pierre. Well, we've taken up too much of your time, so here's another question. Now, we do have our signature question for you, so you got to stick around for that. The name of the podcast is Got Your Back. We love those stories that people have about a time in their life where someone came through for them or had their back. So when we fire that idea at Cole Caufield, what story pops into your head?
Yeah, first couple times driving to the practice rink in Montreal, still had no idea where I was going and stuff, and new to the area. Phone service was still American, and lost service going through this tunnel, and just couldn't find my way out of it. And I couldn't read the road signs, and so I'm trying to call Nick. It's like first week when I got called up, I'm like, I'm gonna miss this meeting.
Oh no!
I'm like, it's 9:00. Like I left it. Obviously, I left like an hour before I needed to and stuff, and I was literally freaking out. Like I couldn't find a way onto to this bridge that we have to get over, and so he ended up kind of holding the meeting back a little bit and talking to the coach just so I could get there on time.
Wow.
And he kind of talked me through how to get out of my wherever I couldn't get out of. So no, it's just the type of person he is. He's just looking out for us, and that's why he's our captain. He's our leader. He's always trying to push guys to go in the right direction, and he's always got everybody's back. So obviously that was a huge thing for me not to be late to a meeting, but
he had the power to delay a meeting to have your back, and probably saved you a fine or something like that too. Like that would have been a tough one. Hey, just there, and that'd have been a bad beat.
It was first week after I got called up. It was a pretty scary moment for me, but it was, I think that's probably another kind of funny moment Nick and I can always look back on.
Great stuff. Well, Cole, thanks so much for taking the time to join us, and best of luck the rest of the way this season. We look forward to chatting with you again.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Cole.
All right, that's going to wrap up the podcast, folks. Big thanks once again to Cole Caufield for taking some time to join us. Arpon Basu as well, one of the great national writers from The Athletic. Appreciate his contributions today, and thanks, Pierre. Appreciate it, my friend. And, of course, big thanks to our sponsors, Cross Country Canada Supplies and Rentals, Pro Hockey Life, and Liberty Smart Security as well. 2 podcasts this week. We'll see what we can get done for you next week. We're having a blast here on Got Your Back. LeBrun and Rishaug, thanks for your downloads. Thank you for your subscriptions. We appreciate you hopping on the ride with us. If you get a chance, leave us a review over on iTunes. We'd love to hear what you think of the guests, the interviews, Pierre's wardrobe, my awards, whatever. We're open to all feedback here on Got Your Back. We'll talk real soon, folks. Have yourselves a fantastic Friday and a great weekend.